here, sir?
No, I do not.
Oh,
I don't.
it says number 5, it says the sheriff will not remove this position in the department from day-to-day forestry duties unless the qualified emergency or use of position is most cost-effective time for any given situation. Define any given situation. And is this emergency?
I guess so. What's the question again?
Beg your pardon.
On the MOU.
Qualified emergency?
He's just
Yeah,
asking
well,
you.
this is a qualified emergency in my opinion. And in reality, gentlemen, this is nothing but MOU is nothing but a handshake on paper. There's nothing legally binding about an MOU. And I don't look at it that way. I've never intended to look at it that way. When they removed the deputy sheriff position, I felt it was an emergency because I don't think it's right to have a ranger out during the day when I don't have anybody at 4:30 in the morning to go to the call. That's really what it comes down to. We're calling people out, when calls come in, and it takes us time to get there. This is an emergency. I just can't actually, there's no way I can stand up in front of the public and say, I'm sorry, I had anybody go to your call at 4:30 this morning. However, check back on during the day and I'll send a ranger over when you're working. No. This is an emergency. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the next line says the sheriff will not use this position to fill patrol and deputy shifts unless the position is on a regular day off. The sheriff will pay all
That
wages.
particular paragraph deals with basically day-to-day operations, not when I decide to pull it off. I can pull him off. He's a deputy. I pull him off to fulfill my requirement to the public. It has nothing to do with this.
I don't want to get into this scheduling stuff, so
Right.
why have 7 guys under the day shift and nobody on night? I mean, it's
You
simple.
have-
I ran a business for years. I know when I'm overstaffed in one shift and vacant in another, you just move it that way.
Okay, I guess what we should have had, you should have told me what you wanted before we came here.
You're going to discuss this
This is what
position
you should
in
have
the
told me. I am
MOU.
not prepared to tell you what 7 people during the day do. If you guys want to know that, we can certainly show that in a future meeting. But you're not going to blindside me with information or requesting from me some stuff that I haven't brought with me. I can tell you this, whatever 7, I don't know what 7
No,
are.
I'm just
There are
the number.
the people during the day work all the time, including myself. This is nothing we just stand around with our finger up our nose. We work, and there are many things. This whole schedule is developed on calls for service from the public. That's what we deal with. That day people work on day shifts because that's where they have to do to get things done. You can't bring an investigator out in the middle of the night, working a shift at night. He needs to investigate things during the day. I have 2 investigators. Both of them are busy. There's no way to do this. The juvenile officer, yes, I have a juvenile officer today, but he provides a particular service for this community and the schools, which I think is required and important, much more important than the ranger position. So I could go down through those lines one at a time, myself and my chief deputy, my investigators, and my juvenile officer, and then the patrol officers. We could do all that. I have no problem doing it. But you got to look at our schedule. We developed a schedule, patrol schedule, and investigator schedule based on calls for service, what the public wants, needs, and expects from us. Actually expects from you. This is what I'm trying to provide. Which is just this schedule wasn't developed on a whim, like, oh, well, let's just do that because I want to. No, it's developed on what the public needs, wants, and expects, and I think that's the way it should be. This is what I don't know what the meeting was about today, Forest Ranger discussion of duties. I think we all know what his duties are. The question is, can you force me to put it back in the Ranger? That's really what this is about. And if you think you can force me to do it, I wish you'd go ahead and try. But let's get it through.
Is that a threat?
Let's get it through now.
Are you threatening us? It sounds like you are.
No,
Larry, calm down.
threat, come on.
The thing was, I'm looking at the MOU, and that's
The
exactly.
MOU is nothing.
Okay,
It is not a legally binding document.
I think it is by budgetary.
I don't think.
Yeah, I think through the budget it becomes binding.
Then you need to do what you gotta do, okay? You need to do what you gotta do.
Necessity.
This has nothing to do with what was on the agenda. If you wanted this on the agenda, you should have put it on the agenda.
It is on the agenda.
No, it isn't. My scheduling is not on the agenda.
No, that's the question I get.
My day shift guys aren't on the agenda.
That's one of the questions I get from my constituencies. Why they see
Put it
so
on
many
the
on during
agenda
the
and let me
day?
know so I can bring the stuff.
Terry, this all fits in encompasses the whole discussion.
It all fits,
They don't tell me it's not on the agenda. It is on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
We schedule just the way we schedule because, and we've shown it to everybody. I don't know how many times we can show you the schedule. How many times do we show you the schedule? 2005 they showed you the schedule. We're doing it the way they think we should do it, the way we think we should do it. I mean, how many times do you want to study this thing, guys?
That's us.
How many times?
Comments I've had at a town board meeting from public people, at different issues we've got concerns for public safety, we've got concerns for officer safety. This was a budgeted position, and what I have been asked is, can this come to the full county board for consideration? This was already budgeted for. This is not an additional funding issue. I've also been told, and this was at a public function, that officers from a different municipality have been asked to go out and cover a domestic abuse circumstance. As you read in the paper last week, domestic abuse is one of the highest risk areas there is for an officer to go, especially if they're alone. And we're asking another municipality to be doing that in the middle of the night where there is no backup. I think this is, we're just asking for something horrific to happen. I think, for budgetary purposes, I think it's irresponsible on our part. That's my personal opinion. I think we're not providing the kind of safety we need for our citizens or for officers. I think we budgeted for this year. The board passed that budget. If it's something that we need to deal with for the 2012 budget, then we look at it then. But I think we need to address public safety at this point, and then also officer safety. We should not be expecting another municipality to be covering for what we have already budgeted for.
I think we're arguing over the ranger position prematurely,
I agree.
because I have no intention of letting the not filling the position go. No intention whatsoever. It was supposed to be on this agenda today.
That was.
And I fully expect it to be on the county board agenda next Tuesday. Now, like she said, when I was talking about officer safety, we were talking about public safety. And I've heard a lot of comments too. And 3 people on the personnel committee can't decide to cut a position. And I know Clay and I argue about whether we're cutting a position or not, but essentially you are. Because when budget time comes around, they're going to cut, finance is going to cut the positions that we haven't filled first. We all know that sitting here today.
Last week, Mike said now we had a good half-hour discussion. Respecting telling and pleading his case, which he has a couple of things. But when you just mentioned something here that the personnel committee doesn't have authority. Now, personnel has handled, after Mike and I talked, I went back and looked to see how we do things. Personnel committee, which you sit on, I believe, as much as it goes against what Mike and I talked about, it goes against what the duties of the personnel committee are. I know you say you want this to go to full county, everybody knows that. But if the personnel committee doesn't have the ability to do the things that the committee was formed for, you don't need one. Every time a position comes up, just take it to county board.